I do want to congratulate the Noble Lady, Lady Parmenter, for getting this debate together and getting so many people here to actually speak on the environment. I think that's a very clever thing to do. And of course, the report is good, and thank you to her committee as well. Now, this is an extraordinary experience to me, for me, to be in a debate where I agree with virtually everything everybody has said. For a Green, that is highly unusual, even in the Green Party, amongst Greens. So thank you all so much for saying wonderful things. That really was, that's really been quite an experience. And always interesting to follow the Noble Earl, Lord Caithness, with whom I did mostly agree. Mostly. Now, if I get irritable during my speech, that's because the Green Party's been saying this sort of thing for 50 years. Now, I personally have only been saying it for 36 years, but it still does get sometimes a little bit repetitive, because essentially, if we look at the basics of human life, without nature, we cease to exist. Without life in our oceans, the whole planet goes awry, and we cease to exist. Nature is not just something to enjoy, although that is a very good aspect of it. It is our life support. And nature is resilient, but with humanity's decimation of species and habitats, life has become more fragile and precious. Now, we have conservation programs all across the UK and all across the globe, but climate change puts all that under threat. There are fewer birds in our skies, fish in the seas, bees on our crops, and 1 in 6 UK wildlife species are now at risk for extinction. As Britain heats up, then plants, insects, birds and animals and people will all need to shift north. Now that's happening right now, and unless we hit this 2030 target, then it's possible that the green corridors, the right soils and the suitable spaces won't be there for many species. A report by the Wildlife and Countryside Link estimated just 3% of land and up to 8% of sea are effectively protected for nature in England. And so I do hope that the new government has not been fooled by the rubbish we had from the last government about being on track to meet the 2030 target, because I think it's absolutely clear we are not on track and we have a real problem. Now, the Green Party obviously offers big solutions for these big challenges. Now, first, we need an independent commission for nature that would protect nature and ensure the restoration of wildlife habitats. This new watchdog should be created as part of a new rights of nature and ensure an act that would enshrine in law the intrinsic value of nature. I'm so sorry if I'm stumbling. I can only write with my left hand, which I'm not very good at, and I'm having trouble reading my writing. So, this independent commission for nature would set up targets for nature protection and restoration, enforced through the courts. That's a very important issue. This would give individuals, communities and conservation groups the opportunity to take legal action on behalf of nature. We need legislation that sets standards for soil quality and phasing out the most harmful pesticides immediately as we move towards regenerative farming methods. Only pesticides that pass this test and demonstrably don't harm bees, butterflies and other wildlife should be approved for use in the UK. And one very, very quick win, of course, is to stop peat for horticulture. Let us ban imports of peat. Let us stop using it and understand that the damage that we do to peat bogs and to peat bogs in other countries where the imported peat comes from is unrecoverable. Now, I hope the Noble Lady and the Minister, and I'm sure she will because I know she cares, will do everything she can to prevent any rollback of existing protections of the Greenbelt national landscapes and sites of special scientific interest. Those should be strengthened, not weakened. And having clean water in national parks should be obvious, but it isn't. Will the government change the rules to make it compulsory and tell the water company bosses they will be given community service orders if they dump sewage in Windermere and every other precious waterway? I would love to see some water company bosses on their hands and knees restoring the rivers that they have absolutely trashed. And of course, I know that my friend Fergal Sharkey would love some help with the chalk streams that run through England. Now, while it's consulting on that, can the Minister urgently publish the regulation and guidance needed to enforce the recent legislation peers helped pass on water companies having duties to further national park purposes? Further, can the Minister also promise legislation which will make it absolutely clear that national parks are nature designations as well as landscape designations? There's something cold and disconnected about knowing that a beautiful landscape is a poisonous no-go area for wildlife. And now we come on to money. The government will have got off to a bad start if it does cut the £100 million from its annual budget for nature-friendly farming in England. This cut will mean at least 239,000 fewer hectares of nature-friendly farmland, according to the research from the RSPB. Now, the Green Party argues that we can not only afford to promote nature-friendly farming, we agree with the NFU, the National Farmers Union, that a big increase in the budget is an essential step towards promoting havens for wildlife, as well as cleaning up our water supply. The government want to protect our coastlines and oceans, but there's no money to monitor progress, or even establish a baseline to work from. And of course, a ban on bottom trawling is another essential, and I really don't understand the delay in making that happen, but the noble lady Baroness Boycott has covered that absolutely fantastically. So could the Minister perhaps make a statement on the appointment of a Minister with a portfolio of responsibility for international marine environment? And finally, can we please ratify the Global Ocean Treaty Agreement, which seeks to conserve marine biology? I realise this is a huge task for a new government, but it's going to be something that, if the government doesn't come up with the right policies, then it is to all our disbenefit.